rescue recognition. How do I know that that person needs help? How do I know that that is a rescue? Because really, that's the essence of it. How do I know that I have to go? Like, does that guy need to be rescued? Does that person need to be rescued? And why? So we look at all the physical characteristics, and I actually have videos of people that are literally drowning. And it's not the waving of their hands and saying, "Hey, man, I'm drowning." That's not what drowning people look like. It's very, very rare that anybody yells for help.
Welcome to another episode of the Rescue Swimmer Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Vince, joined here with RSM Cody and Ed Vodrazka, who you may or may not have heard a lot about in the last couple of weeks on Instagram, on our social media, and on our website. Ed is a 47-year veteran lifeguard who's putting on a very detailed course that we're psyched to have. So today we're giving you a free sneak peek into some of the stuff that is going to be in the course and what you're going to learn, as well as kind of put a face to who Ed is and get a little bit more knowledge as to who's going to be teaching the course. Because we have 3 people in RSM now. We have RSM Vince, RSM Cody, and RSM Ed. So very psyched to have you. Thanks, Ed.
Thank you. Hey, I'm really stoked to be here, Vince.
So some people may have seen the video of you where you're breaking down like everything that's in the course, but let's get into some details as far as like just an honest conversation and let people know like, yeah, some of the knowledge that they could get in this course, as well as honestly just get educated on lifeguarding. So I think one of the cool things, like RSM, the reason we wanted to have you on is because we're developing athletes on a day-to-day basis, trying to develop military athletes. But how would you consider lifeguards? Would you put them in the category of an athlete as well? Because it seems that way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, clearly our profession is based on a couple different things, but one of the most foundational things is having the athletic skills to perform the job. There's a whole nother separate part that's just having the vigilance and the diligence to keep your eyes on the water and maintain vigilance in the slow times. But the foundation of lifeguarding really does exist in our athletic abilities. And we draw from, swimmers. Of course, swimming is a fundamental skill that we all sort of share, but that's a really a foundational part of what we do, which, again, leads to the course as well. We also draw from water polo players and surfers. Surfers have great ocean knowledge, so we take advantage of those guys too. And they tend to do very well. But an interesting thing is, like when we hire some athlete, whatever their background is, whether it's swimming, water polo, surfing, or whatever, up until they become lifeguards, all that they've done in the athletic world has been for themselves. They've stood on podiums and been heralded, as great, all-American swimmers or Long Beach water polo players or great surfers that have gotten the adoration from their schoolmates. But a very interesting thing happens is once they become lifeguards, they use all those skills in the realm of service. It's public service, and they finally get to use all those great things that they can do, and they become public servants, and they use those skills to go out and actually effect those rescues. And for us, that's when they become valuable. I mean, I believe me, I'm a great fan of all the athletic achievements that people have made on an individual basis. But as a supervising lifeguard or a lifeguard that's a teacher or a mentor or someone that supervises the beach, I really value those great athletes when they become public servants, because then they really are doing something for the community and something outside themselves. Most kids that sign up to be lifeguards never really think about that, but there's a really, I guess, kind of a great gratification that they come around to understanding that when they can use those God-given skills to save a life, and that's really pretty cool. And it's pretty addicting too.
I hate to bring it up again, but that sounds a little bit like the plot of the Baywatch movie, where what's that guy's name? He comes in as like the swimmer athlete champ, and honestly, that's also the plot of The Guardian in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, that's very similar. That's a good. Yeah, it's kind of like a universal principle, I guess.
Yeah. So like
Yeah, but
super athlete that's selfish comes in, and then the mentors are like, well, let's put those skills to the test and, put them to use to benefit others aside from yourself and smelling your own farts.
yeah. I'll admit that I actually, my wife and I, we saw that in our feed, and we actually watched that movie and laughed our ass off. It was really funny. But you're right. The premise is exactly correct.
So do you get a lot of, what was that guy's name again, Cody? Do you remember? It was like some douche name, like, I don't know, like.
I have no idea. I don't remember.
Yeah. Anyway,
but Zac Efron character.
Zac
right?
Efron character. Yeah. Yeah. So do you get a lot of Zac Efrons like that come in pretty much? Yeah. As like gold medalists, and maybe they got a little cockiness behind them, but you at least put those skills to the test or to good use.
Yeah, our 8-day training program unearths every weakness that every kid has. It's a pretty remarkable program, and in 8 days we are doing so many activities that if you have a chink in your armor, it's going to show up. And whether it's physical or mental or psychological or egotistical, those guys, we find them pretty quickly, and unfortunately they get weeded out, and sent back to the sent back to try again next year. So we don't really have big issues with that. It's rare that we get the arrogant dude that comes in and thinks he's ready to save the world. Yeah, when you get out in the field, you realize that you're a rookie, and there's guys that are 4, 5, 6 year lifeguards that have been doing it a while that, will, put you right in your place. We call it the tall poppy syndrome. I mean, if you're the poppy that sticks above the other ones, man, you get cut off pretty quickly.
Right.
Yeah. I know we talk about like great athletes, extraordinary athletes coming to be lifeguards, but are there average swimmers, average surfers who go into the lifeguard program and excel?
Absolutely. And part of that's a great segue to this program because, and I know you, Cody, and I are going to be working primarily on this 80-day program at the end of it. It's remarkable. I would say the majority of our great lifeguards are not decorated all-American swimmers. They are, run-of-the-mill swimmers that have put in the time and the effort to get themselves to a place where they can function adequately. They're not Olympians, they're not all-Americans, but they work hard, and they have this dream. They want to succeed, and they want to be great ocean gladiators, and they go through the time, and they put the time in, and they invest themselves, and they generally succeed. And to my knowledge, I mean, those are people that do the best in the profession as well. Not the Olympians, the other guys, but they do great.
Yeah. It seems like oftentimes individuals that succeed as leaders are not per se those top athletes. They're the people that can communicate efficiently, as well as, just like get everyone together to work together. And that's like a common thing, I think, like with teams like SEALs. I
think it has something to do with like, if you're too good at something, it's hard to relate to someone who's average, maybe.
Yeah.
So you can't explain it as well. That's kind of how I think about that.
I totally agree with you, Cody. And if you're the everyman, you understand, struggle, and you become a better mentor when you're a 3rd and 4th year lifeguard. You understand how other people have to work hard for to get what they want in life and to achieve success. And so, I totally agree with you. I think you're right. And again, it relates back to service, and if you think you're, it's about everybody else. So, keeping your ego in check, I think, is kind of a fundamental thing of being good, not just in lifeguarding, but in life, I think.
Right. Well, I'm assuming it's incredibly gratifying to have the opportunity to save lives. And you guys certainly do have that opportunity, much more so even than rescue swimmers.
Yeah, I think we do. I'd say it's hard to kind of quantify. It depends what beach you work at. But if you're at a busy, urban beach, generally about every 2 summers, I would say on average, you make that rescue. Each lifeguard makes, and certainly in my district at San Diego Coast, guards make somewhere between 30 and 60 rescues a summer. But about every 2 summers, you make that one rescue where you realize, holy crap, this was a critical rescue. When you get to the person like kind of just in time, and you see the fear of God in their eyes, and you wrap the buoy around them, and they look at you, and they're completely, at their last bit of effort to stay above the water, and then you make that rescue, and you bring them to shore, and and that person looks at you and sort of with this imploring look that's, they're trying to find the words to thank you for saving their life, but both and that victim knows that they would have drowned had you not performed. And that is the moment that most people never think about when they become lifeguards, but that moment is really a kind of a revelatory thing for certainly the person and their family, because they lived thanks to the lifeguard doing their job, but it also greatly affects the guards, and that's what motivates them to come back. It's addicting, frankly. It's really addicting when you have that kind of an experience and you come home at the end of the day and you're sitting at the dinner table with your family and they're talking about their day, and you can say, hey, I saved the life of a 7-year-old child today, and mean it and know it, that's kind of a conversation stopper, and I've got guys, that I worked with that are greatly successful. They're lawyers, they're attorneys, they're doctors, they're physicians. One guy was a mayor. They keep coming back to lifeguarding, and it's certainly not for the money. It's for that adrenaline rush of being able to make those life-saving rescues. Because I don't know, it's been said many times. I mean, is there anything more noble in life than saving the life of another human being? And we get to do that as part of our job. I mean, we get to do that for free. I mean, who wouldn't want a chance to do that? And we get to do it all the time. So that's pretty cool.
A couple of weeks ago, we got the opportunity to interview a lifeguard that works at Waimea on Oahu there in Hawaii. And he was saying that oftentimes, though they're maybe grateful like immediately after the rescue, afterwards when they return to the beach, a lot of times they kind of duck their heads and avoid the lifeguards because maybe there's some shame there or something like that. Have you experienced that? Or
absolutely.
I think he was saying it's a little bit of both. Some are like super grateful and they come to see him, or they ignore them and pretend like they don't exist and avoid looking at the tower.
Yeah, well, and I think there's an age thing too, because if you're dealing with an adolescent kid or a young adult, especially if it's a male, it's almost always a male, but and they've got their girlfriend on the beach or their family on the beach there, and they're so damn embarrassed. That age group, man, you're not going to get much out of them for sure. But we've had some. I don't want to give too much away. We'll talk about some. Well, I'll give you a couple little small stories during the course. But we like to put people in their place gently and appropriately. But we like to sometimes put them in their place and let them know that they're not quite as good as they think they are in the ocean. And it's time to maybe take a remedial swim program.
All right. Remedial swim.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about EMS cases. So like what's the lifeguard's kind of place in that EMS world versus like
and then like baseline training at the Lifeguard Academy, what are they learning?
Yeah, so well, we for the state lifeguards, we the California state lifeguards, we had the certification that was called EMR, and they actually eradicated EMR. So now it's basic first aid, it's advanced first aid is their certification. But ours is unique because we have all these beaches up and down the coast, and some of them, like where you were, Cody, I mean, they're so remote that you end up on the field doing really heroic stuff on land, airway, breathing, circulation, and managing these tenets of life by yourself. And sometimes the response time for the medics is a really long time. So we add a lot into the state program. LA County doesn't focus as much on the advanced first aid stuff. It's a little more rudimentary. And that's simply because, they've got an incredible resource in this urban environment where, and I joke about it, but it seems like there's a paramedic behind every trash can on the beach at Venice or Santa Monica. You have a medical aid, you've got someone, there in minutes, so that's it. But there is a fundamental difference that I wanted to mention. And that's this, we are not firefighters, and, we're not medics generally. Some of our guys have even more training than medics, but in the field we don't work as medics. We work as advanced first aid, and those that have gone through the EMT program are working as EMTs. But the crazy thing that's different about us is, if you think about it, every agency in the EMS world is sent to the call. They are dispatched and told where to go. You know, if I'm a firefighter, I get the call, they get the call out, we hop in the rig, we take off, we go to, you know, such and such an address, and we know what we're responding to. Generally, you have some knowledge of the call. Lifeguarding is the only element of EMS that I can think of that is so unique, because the guards are in the tower and they are making the decisions on when to initiate the calls. They are deciding when they should go on these rescues or not. So they're self-dispatched. They have to be super proactive. They, you know, if they fail, they're the first line of defense. And if they fail, you know, certainly people die. If they miss rescues, people die. So that's a tremendous amount of responsibility, and it's a very unique aspect of lifeguarding that most people don't think about. Now, granted, of course, we do get dispatched to things too. Some people call 911 and we get dispatched to stuff that's in remote areas. But for those tower guards, which are the backbone of our service, they are diagnosing all day, every swimmer, and making the decision to go comes from sometimes a 16-year-old kid, which is insane. I mean, that's just so crazy. It's so much responsibility, but you know, but it works. The system actually works pretty well. So, but it's pretty cool.
What tends to, go ahead, Cody.
Yeah. As far as being proactive, do you screen for that when you're training lifeguards? Is that something you can try to find in someone, or is it just more innate?
No, it's the culture that we instill in them. And we start that even in the rookie academy. So in the rookie academy, after a swim, we'll gather on the beach and we're watching all of the trainees, and they're staring at us, you know, and we start breaking that habit right away. Don't look at us. You look at that water. That water is you're a slave to that water. Your eyes are on that water. Even when nobody's in that water, your eyes are on that water. And that has to be instilled as a fundamental aspect of what we do. It's funny because you get so ingrained into it. When two lifeguards are talking in a tower or on a beach, they're not looking at each other. You know, it seems a little rude almost, but they're watching the water and they're talking and going, yeah, how was your day yesterday? Yeah, it was pretty good. You know, I went out and surfed this morning. It was good. You know, and they're having this conversation, but they're not even looking at each other. The bummer about that is when a lifeguard goes on holiday at a beach environment, we can't stop doing that. And you talk to any veteran lifeguard, and they're like, my holiday was ruined because I went to, you know, the Bahamas and I made 6 rescues, you know, and the wives are like, hey man, just relax, you know, have a cocktail. And you can't stop it. It's so ingrained. So, you know, I guess that's the bummer part of it, but it is kind of funny in a way, I guess. You know?
I guess you just don't go on vacations at the beach if you're a lifeguard.
Yeah. Go to the mountains.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Go mountaineering. I'm on Everest. I'm on vacation.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. What was I going to say? Yeah, you brought up 16 years old. What's like the minimum age typically for ocean lifeguards? I guess that depends throughout the world, but.
It depends on the agency. With San Diego City, it's 18. With LA County, it's 18. The state is one of the few agencies that hires at 16. And I'll tell you right now, I mean, it's the rare 16-year-old that gets through. You know, but technically they can get hired. Actually, my daughter just got hired this year. She's 16. Okay. I mean, I was blown away. I mean, it's young. You know, if anybody that has a 16-year-old, you know, it's kind of like, wow, really? You know, they can do this, but the maturity that happens, like, it's incredible what happens when you give them the chance, because they do have the tools in many cases. And some great lifeguards are 16.
Yeah. Now, does it ever happen that a lifeguard misses a drowning because they just didn't see it, or they're not paying attention?
It does. It certainly does. But I'm really pleased to say that if you look at drowning statistics up and down our coastline in California, regardless of agency or terrain or you know, how much staffing is done, I would say, you know, and I don't know the percentage, but it's by far the majority of drownings in the 95, I guess, percentage, somewhere in there, of drownings happen in unguarded water. Meaning there's no guard there, which is proof the fact that, you know, when we have guards there, they make the difference. Of course, you know, we're not perfect. when you have a beach with 1,000 swimmers and you got two people trying to watch everybody, it can certainly happen. But the systems are in place, and the systems have been honed by dozens and dozens of years, and incredible the people have gone before us that have set these programs in play, and they work. They absolutely work. It's remarkable, but it's really true. So I mean, the last time that we had a guarded drowning in San Diego coast, I want to say was like 15 years ago. And if you just stop for just a moment to think how many people have swum in the ocean in all those years, how thousands and thousands and thousands of people, the odds of drowning in guarded water are infinitesimally low. And we're really proud of that, so that is pretty cool. The system does work.
That's incredible. Let's actually explore a hypothetical of an unguarded rescue or situation, because I know that's going to be something we're going to dig into quite a bit in the course. Okay, so this is a scenario. You're a great swimmer. You're on a beach, and there's a kid that you see is certainly struggling past the break.
Okay.
What's your first step?
So is this you're off duty?
You're not even a lifeguard, but let's say like you've taken this course maybe, or you've learned. So like, screw it. You are a lifeguard. Let's say you are a lifeguard. Yeah. Okay.
Well, so first, you have to notify, because we don't work alone, right? So as a bystander, if you're going to swim out, that's, that has to be a personal decision, whether you feel like you have the skills to do that, or whether you're going to make yourself into a second victim. So number one is you get help. You call 911 and get everybody in the world coming, because everywhere in the state of California or around the world, there are rescue agencies that are going to respond. You guys, us, it depends on inshore, outshore. Secondly, you have to evaluate the conditions, and clearly there's situations, especially in Northern California where Cody is, where the surf gets so big. If there's someone out there and you put yourself in that situation, you're adding another victim to the mix. And now, we'll probably touch a little bit about this on the course too, but scene safety is a tenet for every one of us, right? Emergency medical people. And we all want to be heroes, and we all want to make that incredible rescue, especially off duty in big surf, and the lure of getting the Medal of Valor is out there, of course. But I want everybody to realize this is a really important point, especially as a lifeguard. If you put yourself in that situation and your partners are going to come and they're going to swim out, the intensity of that rescue triples when it's your partner that's out there. And if you're just going for if they're making a rescue on some random unknown person, of course we're going to do the best we possibly can. But for knowing that it's your partner that's out there at risk, we have a tendency to throw away all the caution and throw everybody out there to try to save your partner. And that does nothing. That actually endangers all these other people that are going to come out to get you. So, we say if the conditions are too crazy, don't go. Really don't add another victim to the mix. Mm-hmm. And then the third level of that is to try to think of some other means by which you can rescue this person. The instinctual response for every parent, certainly, and every lifeguard, is to immediately swim out. But what other things do you have at your disposal? Is there any kind of flotation that you can take out there with you? Is there a throw bag if it's in a river situation? Or is there a bodyboard that you can, swim out there with? Or a pair of fins even to help yourself? Or a paddle board? Or some boat? Or, you have to think outside the box. And of course, if they're way on the outside, then we call you guys, like the rescue, the helicopter is an incredibly valuable asset, which we use not only to get to the victim, but then to have to keep us from having to swim back in through the surf line, where it's far more dangerous than even swimming out, as Cody can attest to, in Mendocino. So, those are a couple, variations on the answer that, kind of add a little bit of, a little mental aspect, try to do the right thing.
That's something we've talked about frequently on this podcast, is like the difficulty of rescuing somebody physically in the water if you don't have any type of equipment. So we're talking flotation, but even as I would challenge any rescue swimmer. Like, helicopter rescue swimmers are well trained, some of the best as far as like water confidence and buddy towing. But I would challenge any experienced and well fit rescue swimmer to rescue somebody that's panicking without fins. Like, if you don't have fins, like, good luck. Like,
no chance.
Maybe one of those like really strong water polo players like that's got their like egg beater dialed. Because like Cody, I don't know if I've shared this story on the podcast, but one of the rescue swimmers that trained me was a 𝐴𝐿IMA in Hawaii, this huge Samoan. He's like a champion, I believe, jiu-jitsu like athletes, and huge feet. I think he wore like 14s or something. But he would always like harp on us like training the egg beater, and I remember like we would struggle to keep one brick out of the water and like egg beater for like a minute. We were like sucking up water, and he was like, "Listen, you guys, like this is pathetic. Like, what's your problem?" And he would just like grab both our bricks and like be talking to us. He's like, "You need to do this for rescue swimmer school," and he's just like having a conversation with us. He's like, "This is important." And the cool story with him is like he actually passed his final test in rescue swimmer school. Because, and like, to be fair, like he should have checked his gear, but he broke, I think, his strap or straps on his fins. Like, they get like kind of crinkly. Sometimes that rubber fades out or whatever. So
just
like dry rotted and they snapped on him on final test. And the final test is not per se the hardest, but it's not the easiest by no means. In rescue swimmer school. And I guess he pulled it off by egg beatering survivors into the basket. But unless you're this guy with like 14 feet, like
he's definitely an exception.
Good luck. And still, that was a pool, and like a pool at that time didn't have like, it wasn't the wave pool. So, like good luck doing that in the ocean when like you have some swells and you're trying to do something without any flotation or fins. Like, that's
and that's actually where you guys do a really nice job. I saw that video that you put out of like approaching the victim and then going down to the other side, approaching him really quickly. That was really cool. We, to be honest with you, don't practice that kind of stuff because it's so ingrained in our head that you always have that buoy. That buoy is part of your. It's like your right hand, and so we don't really practice that very much. Frankly, we don't see that many people that actually climb the line and try to attack you. Once they have their flotation, the flotation keeps them up enough to where, and we'll talk about this in the course, but it generally, I've never in 47 years, I never had anybody, pull on the line and try to get to me. I've heard it happen, but it's super rare, So,
like our baseline as rescue swimmers, when we go through rescue swimmer school, our baseline was to learn like these approaches and escapes and releases to handle survivor. And like your guys' baseline is to use the buoy. It's interesting because recently we've been starting to use the buoy. So we'll deploy like a free fall deployment from the helicopter with a buoy, but that's totally new for us. But that's something we've implemented from the lifeguard, ocean lifeguard perspective. And so it's kind of cool to see it all coming together.
Oh, that's so cool.
I hope that you guys can add that, when we do the course, like your perspective on that, because I think that's really good because there's everybody, can come across a situation where they don't have a buoy, so that's where, your techniques are really going to be valuable for someone.
So is that a lifeguard buoy, Cody?
Well, it's just our strap, so we can deploy with our strap.
Oh, okay.
So it's a flotation device similar to the buoy that lifeguards use.
Does it float quite enough where you could straddle it with your?
So you even one of like the new info coming out from like the guys who make the decisions on equipment and gear, they have tested and everything, so we could use it as flotation for someone too. You can just disconnect from it and give it to them, and they can float with it, or you can hook them up and then go deal with someone else, come back to them. So it floats enough to keep someone up. Same as a buoy.
That's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think what's cool with this course for people attending is like know that we're going to be exploring the lifeguard rescue techniques and drownings and everything. But Cody and I will also be attending as rescue swimmers, and Cody is there with the current techniques. So we'll be able to input and answer questions as far as like some things if you have like curiosity questions as far as like escapes and releases and stuff. And Cody, I'm actually curious. You guys are now implementing jiu-jitsu. Have you back in the Coast Guard learned some of these techniques?
They have new releases and escapes and stuff. So they're a little different because we used to be like pressure point kind of we use pressure points like on the hip and the elbow, if you remember right, Vince. But
Yep.
now it's more body leveraging and stuff, like more jujitsu based, and I'm still learning them. But they're pretty. Once you learn them, they're pretty intuitive. It's mainly just knowing where to grab and how to just turn someone in the water so you can take control of them. Nothing too fancy, really.
Is it similar?
It's good to know. It's hard. I wouldn't be able to teach them on the Zoom course per se, but we could go through and explain kind of the principles.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about like lifeguarding lifestyle. So, on and off duty, what it's like.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's, you enter, when you become a guard, you enter into a unique culture, and granted, we have the greatest, arguably the greatest environment to come to work every day. You're working on the beach. I joke to these people here in San Diego. I mean, these kids are working in these towers, and right behind them are the richest of the rich, who have $20 million homes, so that they can enjoy this view. And I said, every guard gets that same view, even a better view, for 8 hours a day, or that's where they come to work each day. So it's nothing to, it's something to kind of marvel at, so we get that, we get this, I don't want to say adoration, but we get a certain respect from the community. We, when we're off duty, we're going to the market and people recognize us, oh, hey, you were the guard in the tower all day today, like, wow, hey, thanks for what you do. I don't, that's a pretty cool thing. But along with that, all the vicarious things that come along with being a student of the ocean, that many of which we're going to talk about in the course, they become part of, our activities and our pursuits and our lifestyle. We tend to become free divers. We tend to be able to, forage for food in the ocean for, we can shoot fish and get lobster and, other game, to sustain ourselves. And lifeguards tend to have kind of this grassroots lifestyle where we don't need a lot, to make us happy. And of course, almost all the lifeguards surf. So there's like this camaraderie where you meet your friends in the morning and you go for a surf before work. And then guards tend to travel a lot too, around the world. Usually that first trip is usually some kind of surf-based thing where they want to go to Tavarua or some exotic place. But many guards, kind of parlay that into just being sort of students of the world, and we're interested in other cultures and other languages. And so the people that mentored me were great world travelers, and sort of I followed in their footsteps and traveled a lot myself, based on the things I had heard from lifeguards. So there is this amazing lifestyle, and I'm not trying to advocate everyone to become a lifeguard, but I'm just saying that for anybody that is thinking about it or is curious about it, going through the course is a great primer, but there's a great reward, and I want you to know why we're lifeguards and how great of a profession it is. That lifestyle is, we joke and we say, lifeguards will dance at your wedding and they'll be giving your eulogy at the end of your life. And it's absolutely true. The bonds that we have by nature of the work that we do and the way that we play together, those are things that solidify us as a clan. And, we lost a great lifeguard just this week. One of our mentors, Eric Emery, just died, a few days ago. And he was one of our mentors. And, we had a get together up in Los Angeles, and, the stories that came out over Eric's life were just remarkable. And, it's a cool group of people that are sort of like-minded. And like I said, it's pretty gratifying to be part of that clan.
Good camaraderie, which tends to be the case for anything that's where you're putting your life at risk, right?
Yes, right. Yeah, and that's a good point. It's the nature of that. It's when you go on a double rescue with another guard and you come in and you high five each other on the beach before you go back to the tower. It's like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like we just shared that incredible experience. And that's what makes the camaraderie so great is the nature of what we do. And I would venture to say that you take a firefighter, you take a lifeguard, you take a rescue swimmer, and you put them in a room together, and it doesn't take long before the stories start flowing and you realize how similar we are, man. It's like it's the same mindset, it really is. It's the same. We're driven by the same reward system. It's pretty cool.
Mm. I don't want to get into this again because we did it with the last lifeguard, but I thought it was really funny. I was like, what's it like? Are you guys always getting hit on by like chicks? and
Yeah.
and the guy was like, it's not too bad. Like, and it just like brought up a thought for me. It's like, I wonder, what about like the female lifeguards? I wonder if that's like a similar thing, if they're always getting macked on as well.
Yes, they are. Yeah, absolutely. It's like a young person's profession, right? So, I mean, we tend to, hire these people that are, 18 to 23. They're in the prime of their life. They're as good looking as they're ever going to be in their life. They're fit. They're tan. They look great. And so it ain't it no wonder that the public looks to them with sort of with stars in their eyes. And so yeah. I don't know. You look at me now and it's hard to believe, but I actually was fairly popular when I was young, and I enjoyed my young years, and I'll admit that to anybody. My daughter now, I tell you, she's 16, and she's telling me about all these men that come to her tower, but for her, they're like guys that are like in their 50s that just want to talk, but she's so nice, she just listens to them. So that's the demographic that she's attracting somehow. But yeah, it's not a bad thing for your ego, I guess is what you're getting at. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. How do you actually keep that in check? That's a good thing to consider. Like, I guess,
absolutely.
Yeah. How do you keep yourself accountable and like, yeah, not be, I keep saying simps. Yeah. Well, smelling your own farts too, and like, think you're all that in a sack of patat,
Yeah. No. I mean, I don't, well, actually we start that, the discipline, starts right at the beginning of rookie school, where you can't be distracted by people on the beach. And, we're working in an environment where people are scantily clad and they're showing everything, out on the beach, and it's very easy to get distracted, but we know that. And so we start that, that training from day one, that your priority is watching that water. And if you're getting distracted by someone on the beach, that's not good. But so that, I mean, I think if someone is being distracted and they're missing things in the water because of somebody on the beach, we are generally pretty quick to counsel that person and correct those behaviors. You got to remember too that where we have towers, there's overlap. So there's a redundancy system. So if somebody misses something, or there's a swimmer that's not doing so well, the guard in the next tower is going to call that guard and say, are you seeing that? Or what do you think about that person? So, and if that happens, twice or so, like in a day, that guard's going to get talked to, and we're going to find out, why that's happening. And if it's because they're, ogling other people on the beach, that's not good. But I don't know. I guess that, you're making a good point here. Can lifeguards be, overly proud? Can they be over ego? Yes, of course they can, and I'm not saying that we're not, but I think that the service-based part of it tends to buffer it a little bit. I would like to think so. And again, we don't, those big ego guys, they never last in our profession, because it's not about us, man. It's about public service. And, if you think your farts don't stink, man, like, yeah, you're not going to make it too long.
Cool. Let's get back into some the that rescue things, because that's, again, we're going to explore that a lot in the course. So like back to the scenario, this kid's drowning. You've called the services, but potentially maybe in this scenario you don't have even cell phone service. You're like on some like desolate park beach or something.
Oh, okay.
And okay, maybe you've pulled a flotation, but I know what we're gonna dissect a lot in the course is ocean science. And so maybe talk a little bit about like what you should maybe assess. So you made the decision that you are going to go out there. What should kind of be your scan and your assessment as to like where to enter the water, maybe considering rip currents and yeah, just assessing the ocean?
Okay, it's a great question, but it's a really broad question. So the answer to that question covers like the first three whole sections of what we're going to talk about. And the first one is just knowing the ocean environment. It's remarkable to a seasoned lifeguard how little people are aware of the ocean environment. Even people that have lived, next to the beach for a majority of their life, they still don't understand how swells are created, the directions of swells, the size of swells, the spacings of waves, longshore currents, how rips form, how to get out of rips. These are like some fundamental things that are kind of the bread and butter of ocean knowledge. And so that's really one of the reasons that we are starting the first chapter on this, is just understanding that ocean environment and talking about, how a lifeguard can look at the ocean surface and know what the bottom looks like right there. And it may seem really crazy or impossible, but it's not. I can look at the ocean surface and tell you the bathymetry. I'll tell you the shape of the bottom based on what the waves are doing. The waves will tell you everything you need to know. Where a wave breaks, it's shallow. Where it doesn't break, it's deep. We'll go into more detail in the course, but that's like the first thing, is just understanding your environment that you're working every day. We encourage every lifeguard before they open the tower, go down, make a bottom check, go down and get in the water and feel what the water's doing, feel what the currents are doing. How far is it pulling? Making an assessment of a single swimmer and seeing how far they're drifting. If they're just not swimming at all, how fast are they drifting down the current? Down the beach, and which direction? That tells you the swell direction, right? And how much refraction is happening. So that's the beginning of it. And then the second thing is again, another absolute fundamental thing. So fundamental, in fact, that it's an entire chapter in itself, is just rescue recognition. How do I know that person needs help? How do I know that is a rescue? Because really, that's the essence of it. When you have all the skills in the world and you're looking at 50 swimmers, how do I know that I have to go? Does that guy need to be rescued? Does that person need to be rescued? And why? So we look at all the physical characteristics, and I actually have videos of people that are literally drowning. And it's not the waving of their hands and saying, "Hey man, I'm drowning." That's not what drowning people look like. It's very, very rare that anybody yells for help. So we're going to look at the characteristics of the victim, and for being able to diagnose and scrutinize the difference between a victim that's just a crappy swimmer or somebody that actually really needs to be rescued. We'll get into some detail with that, and it's best that I wait until we look at the course, because I'm going to show you the photographs, and the images and the videos will show you as I explain it. I think they'll give you a really good indication of what a victim really looks like. And then the third part is the procedure, like how you actually make the rescue. Because, again, you have to always call it in. You always have to let somebody know that you're going out, because, you're not working alone. We never know if that victim might turn into, an unconscious person outside, and if you hadn't called for help and now you've got an unconscious person, you definitely need help. Or you're out there and another victim happens, and now you've got two victims and they're 20 yards apart. What do? We'll go into those situations and we'll talk about how to elicit those rescues when you have backup and when you don't have backup and when you're by yourself. So it's a good question that we'll actually talk about more on the course. And the other options that you have, like we talked a little bit about. Do you have any other tools at your disposal? And if so, how would I use them initially, or how would I summon somebody on the beach, my partner, to come back out, and how do I communicate with them when I'm 200 yards offshore? Well, we have some little tricks that we do. So we'll talk about those too. I can actually summon help and let somebody know that I need help based on like a couple little hand signals that we use. So, it's kind of we're kind of peeking behind the curtain as to, some of the secrets that we use, but, it's not, it shouldn't be secret. We should share all these things because, they're all helpful.
I think it was really unique and special for Cody and I to actually see those drowning videos that are going to be in the course, because even in rescue swimmer school, and I know sometimes the rescue swimmer education does change, as the years go by, and sometimes there's just no time in the course curriculum to include certain things. But at least when I went through, they did not show these drowning victims. We didn't go through videos that showed what a drowning survivor or yeah, a victim looks like out in the ocean. And just seeing that video was quite unique and not exactly what I would have expected to see. So I think that's going to be very unique for students to see and for us to break it down.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing, if I can interject right there, you know, back in the day, we didn't have that footage. It didn't exist. I never saw what a drowning, you know, a video footage. I no one ever captured that before, to my knowledge. And now that everybody has a cell phone, you know, we just have way more people filming crazy stuff, you know, and so we're able to collect these things, and they're great teaching tools for us. So, and it seems like it, you know, you enjoyed it too, seeing that, and it was very insightful for you. It's very insightful for all, you know, wannabe lifeguards or, you know, prospective ocean rescue people to actually see that, because I think a lot of people would be surprised how subtle sometimes it is when someone's drowning. Would you agree?
Yeah. And yeah, Cody, what are your?
Yes, I mean, from the rescue swimmer's perspective, we don't really cover drownings necessarily, because a lot of times our response time is going to be, you know, 20 to 30 minutes minimum. So by that time, you know, there's the video of this person in like a whitewash kind of mess of rocks and stuff. Like, getting to that guy in enough time to save him isn't going to be something that we're going to do very often, unless you're just in a random chance happen to fly over that. So we don't cover that very often. So it's good to see. And it'd just be hard to, from a helicopter, it would be really hard to see that. So
it's a whole different perspective. It's great, man. I mean, we're covering like every aspect of this. It's really neat, you know, because we obviously specialize in the inshore stuff, you know, like the close to shore stuff, and you guys deal with the crap that's, you know, that's outside that we call you for, you know. So I mean, it's cool. People will get they're getting both sides of the story here, which is really kind of exciting for me, as hammy as it sounds, man. I mean, it's really fun to work with you guys to put this product out that people will see every aspect of. You know, you'll be pretty darn well rounded by the time you're done with all this, right? You know.
Yeah, and I think it could be beneficial to anybody in those military, like especially water-based services or just any water-based service, because. Yeah, like one thing you talked about is wave, but it's bathymetry.
Bathymetry, yeah, just the study of
like
the bottom, the ocean bottom. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, that's like a part that I'm super intrigued and looking forward to getting educated on myself, because like I've put myself in predicaments because, you know, just looking at the ocean. Yeah, this is specifically when I was like younger, and I think I've developed a little bit of my ocean like understanding. But I remember going to I think it's Turtle Bay on the North Shore in Hawaii on some pretty big swells. And, you know, I was confident in my swimming abilities and stuff, but I put myself in a situation where like, I thought it was like deep, and I was like, okay, I'll get knocked around by waves as I always do. But it was like really shallow reef. And like, luckily I had a wetsuit, but I just got like smashed onto this like reef. And I was like, oh man, I'm an idiot. Cause I didn't read this bathymetry, that's how you pronounce it.
It's like bathymetry, like beat with
bathymetry. Sorry. So so I just didn't know how to read that ocean setting, and I'm certainly looking forward to that, because it was kind of it got real pretty quick, and I did get cut up, and I got knocked around, and to me it looked like on the surface it was going to be deep there, or at least sand or something, right? But it was not.
Man, and those coral cuts, man, boy, they're tough to heal, man. I know they get infected really easily. Geez, man. Yeah, it's another whole thing. Yeah.
So
well, good. Well, good. We'll talk about it. We'll definitely talk about it.
Awesome. Another thing you're going to talk about, and like we've included it in like just like that promo video. If you guys want to go check it out, again, it's on Rescue Swimmer Mindset. It's Rescue Swimmers Mindset. You go to the courses, and it's Lifeguard. Also, it is on a discount. So if you're pre-ordering, it's significantly cheaper, and then you get to actually interact with us and be there live. So it's cool. But be willing to be on our Zoom call, because then we'll edit it. So it's going to be very high quality footage that's edited, and you'll get access to that. Just know that you're going to be in the course. You can also turn your screen off though if you want to be incognito in the course. So it's fine. But just know that you may or may, like, if you want to be in it, you'll be in our course, and you'll be asking questions that will help hopefully other students in the future learn. But one thing that you've also included is footage of you giving CPR to a dolphin. I thought that was really cool.
I don't know where you guys found that. By the way, that promo video was unbelievable that you guys put that together. I thought, my God, that was so dramatic. I was ready to stand up and cheer during that thing. But you guys, man, you pulled out stuff that I hadn't seen in years. I don't know where you found all that stuff. It was really great. And the dolphin thing, I don't. Yeah, that was a crazy day. I think I'm the only lifeguard I know that's done CPR on a dolphin, as far as I know. Maybe if anybody's out there, man, let me know, because mine was unsuccessful. But when the marine biologist got there, she's from Scripps. I told her what I did. She goes, yeah, that's what we would have done too. So I guess it was okay. I just you aim between the pectoral fins, right? We aim between our pectoral fins, right, where we do CPR. So I tried, Well, it didn't work, but we tried.
Dang.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be a cool aspect as well, as far as like educating yourself on marine life and things that are hazardous and what to watch out for, especially in the lifeguard setting that can help educate other beachgoers. Yeah, I think that's going to be a cool added benefit of knowledge.
Yeah. Good. I'm stoked. We'll talk about marine life, and of course the sharks thing is the last part of the marine life thing, which always tends to be the most popular aspect of marine life. And I have a great resource that I got mostly from a gentleman named Jim Serpa, who was a state park ranger for probably 30 years. And he's a shark expert. He worked a lot with Chris Lowe. Chris Lowe is probably the leading shark expert on the West Coast, out of Cal State Long Beach. Chris is always quoted for every shark incident. But I was able to teach a class or do a presentation with Chris Lowe up for the LA County Lifeguards, and he focused on the sort of the biology of sharks and their behavior and their socialization, and I was able to focus on the attacks, the shark attacks in California on the coastline and the fatalities. And so that's going to be a very interesting part, I think, that most people will get something out of. There's a lot of myths that are circling sharks. It's a dramatic, idea, and people sharks, that they get people's dander up. But we'll talk quite a bit about sharks in there, and I think we're gonna. I think it'll be pretty insightful. That part I think will be very insightful for people. And again, I'm using resources that are kind of some cutting edge stuff, and that people I think will enjoy. Yeah.
I know you're going to break down some of the shark attack incidents on people that have happened historically.
Yeah.
Do you think you could break down maybe one, briefly, as far as what occurred and what could have been, how it potentially could have been avoided?
Sure. Well, there's, I said 11 in the promo, but I think there's actually been 12 fatalities on the California coastline. Since I'm a California guy, I kind of focus more on that. The Florida guys and now the East Coast guys going up the coast, they actually have more attacks than we do, because they have they have bull sharks there, and bull sharks are, white sharks get all this press, but man, bull sharks are gnarly, man. They're just they're like reckless teens. They're dumb, and they're just, you think about a dog that's like a late puppy, that just runs around and bumps into stuff. That's kind of how bull sharks behave. They're constantly close to shore. They're nipping on people, so they get, in 1 year, I seem to recall there was something like 400, encounters with shark, or there's, I forget the time frame, but don't quote me on that. But where they had 400 encounters, we had, a fraction of that on the West Coast.
Cody's responsible for half of this, though.
That's probably so. But these sharks are so crazy. They find them swimming up the rivers in fresh water. How does a bull shark survive in fresh water going up rivers? But they do. So, they get that. We, of course, get the white sharks here. And, there's only 4 species of sharks that have ever been associated with any kind of attacks on humans. So we'll talk about, and there's something like 100 species of sharks. Most of them are absolutely harmless. Leopard sharks. I take my children down to La Jolla Cove in the fall to put their face in the water and watch the leopard sharks swim by. That's one of the coolest things you can do. People go down to the lagoons in Baja, and they swim with whale sharks that are as long as your house. You can get really close to them. They're completely harmless. But But just those few species have been associated with human attacks, and we're going to find out. I don't think I'm burying the lead here, but when someone gets killed, it's a case of mistaken identity. If I was to choose one, I did like pretty extensive research on the it was 11 when I did the presentation, now 12 fatalities. To give you one story, let's see, gosh, there's one that the story is compelling, just because when I was telling this story once to my EMT class, the the sister of the girlfriend of the victim was in the class while I was telling the story, and I didn't realize that, and so that was really close to home for me. I'll save that one. It's in the realm of privacy. I'll save that one. But one of those shark attacks happened in LA County, and I spoke with the boat operator who was on that call, and to this day, they doubt that ever really even happened. That there's no proof that person ever was taken by the shark, because the body was never found. So, in some of these situations, I don't know, man. That particular one, it may still be 11 fatalities. That may be some kind of, weird, insurance thing, or someone running off to, start a new life or something. God knows. But that one didn't really add up, according to the boat captain on the Baywatch that day in Malibu. So I don't know. I should wait. I should tell you the stories when we talk about the thing. But they're all pretty compelling. Every shark story, every shark fatality does have a kind of an amazing. They're all super interesting, I think. And again, I'll give you a thumbnail sketch of all of them that I know. And again, I have done a bit of research. So I'll leave it at that for now.
Yeah, and it'll be cool to kind of understand like where maybe decisions could have been a little different in and potentially creating a different outcome.
So absolutely, for sure.
That'd be great to get into that.
Sure.
And also if you guys are interested in learning more about Ed, I know you came out with your book, and you're coming out with a second one as well, right?
I just came out with a second book, and it centers on the Sonoma Coast. The Sonoma Coast in the realm of lifeguarding is crazy. In the nation, it had the highest percentage of ocean drownings in the country for years, and over a 10-year period from 1980 to 1990, they were losing on average a victim every 64 days. I mean, that's, you have to kind of, for a lifeguard, we have to kind of stop and go, what did you just say? I mean, someone who was drowning every 64 days, every 2 months, another drowning. So these are statistics that are unbelievable to any lifeguard listening to this. They're like, how in the world does that happen? Well, it was abalone divers, and the combination of abalone divers and horrendously large surf and freezing cold water, as Corey can attest to, Cody can attest to, because he works there. But they decided to bring lifeguards up there to that stretch of coastline. And it was an unprecedented move, because even the local EMS community said, you cannot lifeguard this place. It's too big. It's too horrendous. Your lifeguards are all going to die. It's crazy. You can't do this. And so they handpicked 11 lifeguards from Southern California, from Huntington, San Clemente, and Huntington, San Clemente, and San Diego coast. And they sent them up there in 1990 and told, basically with no experience, said, hey, create a lifeguard service up here. And so this book is the first 4 years of their existence and all the challenges that they ran into. But the stories are epic. I mean, they are amazing what they had to contend with. So the book is called One Guard Out, and it's kind of an homage to the fact that for all of us in the rescue swimmer world, when you are that first rescuer out, you really are the first guard out. You are one guard out. And, in urban settings like, LA County or San Diego, you have backup, but up there, many times there was no backup. So these people were swimming out in double overhead surf and 49-degree water on a rocky coastline, unbelievably treacherous. And they oftentimes had no backup. So, this is my homage to these 11 lifeguards who truly made history. And I won't tell you how it ends up, but after 4 years, they established themselves as the de facto lifeguard agency up there. And I it reads kind of like a John Krakauer book. It's a lot of drama, but it's all true. I interviewed every one of these guys. I knew almost all of them, and I interviewed them and got their stories directly from them. So yeah, thanks for letting me talk about it a bit. I hope that that it does sell and that the book does get out there, so that people can learn about what these people did. And if you want to read a couple swashbuckling stories, man, you won't be disappointed.
Hell yeah.
Is that out yet?
Yeah, it just came out. It just came out like a month ago. So
And
it's available on Amazon, and or you can contact me and I can send you one if you want to do it directly through me. But it's probably easier just to get through Amazon. If you want a signed copy, you can contact me. But if you just want a regular copy on Amazon, one guard out. Yeah.
But if you want a signed copy, you can go to Rescue Swimmer Mindset under shop, and we have all his contact info. So you can reach out to Ed there.
Exactly.
Whether that's the first or second book. That sounds really cool. It's like they handpicked, like it's like the SEAL Team 6 of lifeguards.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah,
It kinda
definitely.
is.
Yeah.
And they were not without their conflicts, so because you put all these people in this stressful environment, and they had conflicts, and I read about all that, and it's so there's some social drama in there too, if you will.
I always think of situations in like movie sense, because I like creating film, and I always think like when they handpick a elite team, I think of Armageddon, when they're like, all right, we're gonna need all these guys, and it's like Bruce Willis, he's like, all right, we're gonna need, I forget what's his name, but he's like on a horse. He's like out in Texas. We're gonna need him. So then like go like wrangle him up. Then there's like the like gambling addict is like they got to go to Las Vegas and recruit him, and like it's like all these like misfits that are amazing at their job, and like to get them all together.
Exactly. It's been done. It was a movie called The Magnificent Seven back in the days, like in the 70s. Right. I'm sure it came out. The Magnificent Seven. One guy was a knife thrower. The other guy was the quick draw. The other guy was the long rifle guy. The other guy was something else. It was like the all-star team. That concept's been done, but that's exactly what happened with these guys too. It was the Magnificent 11.
Yeah. I'll pay the box office to watch that any day.
It's a good movie. You should watch that, Magnificent Seven. And that was stolen from apparently Kurosawa's The Seven Samurai, which was a movie pre Magnificent Seven. He basically just stole the idea. So it's been done.
Wow. Yeah. Hell yeah. All right. Anything else we should talk about for the course? I mean, always feel free to reach out to us on Instagram there, Rescue Swimmer Mindset. We'll answer any questions if you have about the course or whatnot. It seems like
a big question that people had that I've got on Instagram a few times is just, if you sign up for the live course, do you also get the like edited course after? And you do. So yeah, you'll be able to attend the live course, which is on September 5th and 7th. And then after Vince goes and does his editing work, he'll release it at some future date, and you'll have access. You can go log in and watch it on demand whenever you want it. So that's just important to note. Yeah.
And it's going to be, I put work into the cinematography of it. So it's going to be filmed with like good camera equipment, good lighting, and good audio. So you can hear everything. And then you'll have even more visuals in that edited course once the course is released. But it behooves you to sign up for the live course, because A, it's discounted, and B, you get to ask us questions if that's what interests you. So you can ask rescue swimmer based questions, but of course lifeguarding questions, and hopefully we get a whole array, which we tend to in these courses, of different people in different sectors, whether you're ocean lover, you're a future lifeguard, military operator, whatnot, or you're just trying to get your learn on. We look forward to seeing you. So that's when is it, Cody? September
5th and 7th.
5th and 7th.
Yeah.
And again, if you can't attend like one of the days, that's okay. You can attend the other, but regardless, you're going to get the edited course afterwards, and immediately after you'll get the Zoom course within a couple days there, if you miss it. So
and I just wanted to add too that one of the last topics that we're going to be talking about is not just lifeguard specific, but it's management of a drowning patient. So in the event that you are on scene, whether you're on holiday or wherever, and you come across, you're thinking about it, these courses are going out to aquatic people. So one of the cool things for us is that we put this information out there, and hopefully it makes a difference in the world. And one of the great ways it can make a difference is if you happen to come across a drowning victim, you know, and you either pull them to shore or you're right there when they come to shore. We're going to talk about the medical aspects of drowning and how to manage that course, and how to actually, there's not a lot of medical stuff in this course, but in the drowning part there is. And we're going to talk about how to resuscitate that person with the cutting edge stuff that the San Diego City permanents have heard, the LA County permanents. It's part of their like basic knowledge. You know, they have to watch my video every year now, I guess that's what I'm told. So, you know, and the state guards, you know, have this too. And so I'm, you know, using some of the most cutting edge people in the drowning community right now that have put this together basically, and I'm using their information. So I think that's going to be really great. And even if we just save one life from what you learn in this course, man, I mean, that's worth doing the whole thing, right? Some 9-year-old kid gets saved because you know what to do. You know, those are cool skills to have. So so that's cool. And then one last thing I wanted to say before we sign off is you know, you may at the end of this get really fired up and want to become a lifeguard. I'm not, you know, obviously saying you have to, but you know, if after you hear all this stuff, you're like, dude, that's something I want to do, then, you know, we're going to turn it over to Cody for this 80-day prep thing that, you know, if this is something that you want, I mean, it's right there in front of you. It's in your hand. You just have to follow the steps. And this 80-day course, between what I'm going to teach you about ocean skills and what Cody's going to teach you about conditioning, you will have plenty of time to get ready for next spring when the lifeguard tryouts all begin. And it's, you know, again, it can sort of change your life. And I hope that it does, you know, because I hope that you guys can benefit from the lifestyle that I benefited from. It's been a great gift to me. And, you know, again, I want to share that with all of you guys. So the timing is good. The timing is good on this course.
Yeah. And to clarify, the 80-day is basically a workout program, very detailed, that's going to break down a lot of different sectors that you want to develop for lifeguarding or just to get into lifeguarding shape. So it's including ocean and beach workouts, calisthenics, upper body workouts, gym workouts, as well as a pool. So yeah, a very well-rounded program. And again, Ed, we're super honored to have you. You know, one thing in building the sales page there is, you know, I looked into kind of, you can look like at Rate My Teacher, I think, or something, Rate My Professor. And, you know, you have like an amazing rating there as an EMT professor, because, you know, that's another amazing thing is like you're a registered nurse, you're an EMT, but not just that, an EMT instructor. So you're teaching these skills, and you've certainly developed as a professor on top of the years that you've taught in lifeguarding. So I think that goes a long way, having an experienced educator that it seems like has gotten great response from your students, as you can see in that
Rate My Professor. Well, thank you. That's really nice of you to say, Vince. I hope that everybody will be happy with what I have to say.
Yeah, I'm psyched to get my learn out. So again, September 5th and 7th, and rescueswimmermindset.com/lifeguard, or just go to the courses there and just see if you're interested, and reach out with any questions. Awesome. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks, you guys. See you next time.